Year, and we are here back from Christmas into the new year. We want to wish you a very happy new year to our Youth of Purpose platform, and also to remind us that we do hope that this year really does become the best for all of us. Now, with a few days to elections, this is very pertinent, especially as young people, being part of it directly but also indirectly, running as candidates but also as voters and supporters for different candidates. We ask today, with our resolutions or with our perspectives of 2026, how will the 2026 elections be able to shape the resolutions that we do have ahead of this year? And of course, joining me in studios is a very great panel. I am not alone. I am joined by a very formidable team of one lady and two gentlemen who will be able to dissect this conversation. I do have Menya. Menya is an instructor at a civil aviation school, but I also do have Nakitende Esther, who is a lawyer. I equally do have Mandela, who is a lawyer. And I will allow them briefly to do a brief introduction, and then we get into the conversation. I'll start it off with you, Mandela.
Thank you very much. Let me start this discussion and introduction by saying the purpose of life, fellow Ugandans, is to live a purpose-driven life. Good evening, viewers. My name is Muhanguzi Mandela Mpuga. I am a lawyer, a data scientist, and I'm looking forward to having a very fruitful discussion with you all and this team of panelists tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mandela, for joining us. And of course, next to Mandela is Esther. Esther, say hello to our viewers.
Thank you so much, Tracy, and our dear viewers. You're very, very much welcome to yet another beautiful show. My name is Esther Nachitende, and I am a lawyer as well. I am also a women's rights advocate and also a youth as well. Thank you so much, Tracy, for the great invite to this show, and I hope to have a very beautiful discussion. Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you so much, Esther, for joining us. I think, Esther, it is your first time having you on this show.
Yes, it is.
So we hope to have you as many more times. And next to Esther is Menya. Menya, kindly say hello to our viewers.
Yes, good evening, our dear viewers on U24. My name is Menya Emmanuel. I'm a flight instructor with Ocean Heights Aviation Training School in Entebbe. Happy New Year to all our viewers. Welcome back from the festive season. And now we are going into a new season of the election season, and I'm happy to be here once again to discuss the topic for today and see how we can move forward after the elections. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Menya, for joining us, and we're happy to always host you here at U24. And now we are well aware that the time is coming close, and of course it's been quite a long journey from 2021 elections, but also to the recent elections. Campaigns have been ongoing for years. People have been convincing their electorate how best they can represent them. People have invested in the elections, promises here and there, different campaign slogans protecting the gains, FDC looking at socio-economic transformation, and all the other candidates in the race. And of course, talking about peace now and then, talking about inclusion, talking about young people being part of this. Today we ask, with our perspectives or with our perspectives in this year, how will the 2026 elections shape us? Particularly for the young person out there, we do have still have the regional youth MP elections coming. We do still have the national female member of parliament coming. We do still have councillors coming through, but importantly, we know young people as the largest demographic that does have a mandate to shape the next elections. Starting with you, Mandela. Expectations, the pressure, the tension, few days from now. How is it like? Are young people ready to vote, and also with the genesis of how things have been going? What is your perspective in that?
Well, in a word, I can say so far, so good. The youth have come out, have turned up in large numbers. They have so far been civil about who they are rallying behind, and especially we see in certain camps that The rallies and campaigns have been organized, which is encouraging to see youth not doing things as they did in the past, where they took up to violence and these belligerent forms of campaigns. It has been more organized, it has been very peaceful. But allow me to just say this, you've heard them say time and time again, out with the old, in with the new. You've heard even more in these days when we're in a new year, you've heard them say, new year, new me. I am here, Tracelyn and the rest of the panelists, to tell the young Ugandans, to urge them and appeal to them to consider building from the old into something new. You see, during a time like this, there are very many things that have come up in the nature of contradictions and things like those, which many people have become so adept and skilled at identifying. However, so many of the other people, much more of the people, have fallen for the trap of ascribing negative connotations to these contradictions. Once again, I am here to assure the young Ugandans that these contradictions are normal and they are a part of growth, and a very essential part of growth. And we really have to be keen as to the role that they play in taking Uganda forward. We are lucky and fortunate enough that our government is one that is able to understand that there are certain contradictions that do not necessitate the use of forcible means of violence to address. And there are others, as in the past we have seen, like where they addressed other belligerent groups like M23 and CONI, where they used these forceful measures. But where we stand right now, we are seeing, and it's something to appreciate in our government, to see that they are not necessarily quick to use these forcible measures of force. But things could change very quickly depending on these next few days. And as a matter of fact, as we get to the climax, this is going to be where we are going to know for sure whether this process has been organized peacefully and which has lived through all the tenets that everyone had hoped for it to go through.
Interesting. Thank you so much for that. To get to you, Esther.
Yes, please.
We are aware that this is January, but also a few days back we've had very many young people, but also old people in churches promising reform, promising this is going to be the year where they are doing their best, promising this is going to be a year where they are more into Christ, or appreciating all that. But also it is a year we've had religious leaders come through, preach for peace, also every young person really has been talking about peaceful elections. And also in line that this is just after a new year, very many young people have made resolutions, they have hopes, but also they were promised things which perhaps someone has patiently worked for. And I was earlier talking about maybe someone promised you some mugati, or someone promised you a job, or someone promised you contributions for marriage and all that. Is it a time where we say we are closer to that, or do we expect a different story when the time comes?
Thank you so much, Tracelyn. I think I would start by saying that 2026 is not just like any other year on the calendar.
Yes.
It is a year that determines the future of Uganda for the next 5 years. And what does it mean for the 75% of Uganda's population? You and I, the youth. Of course, you have been promised quite a number of things, and we are still being promised a lot of things. But then should we say that now we are closer to the Ugandan Empire, as Bobby calls it? Over now we have the gains as the young people. Are we anywhere close to those two? Because at the bottom of His Excellency's manifesto is protecting the game. While Mr. Kyagulanyi is telling us Uganda Empire is here in Uganda. As the young people, do we even feel we are close to that? I'll first draw a perspective from last year's election, not last year's election, but the 2021 election. It was really it was not peaceful, I should say. We had so many people die. If we can all remember the November killings. Now let's relate to the 2026 elections. We have not had any of that. Okay, we have not had something as gross or close to that. Does it mean now we are closely moving to the Uganda that we desire as the youth? I would say no. I feel we are mistaking the absence of that gross violence for things to be well. Simply because we have not seen so many riots, young people being shot dead, it does not mean that we are going to have an excellent 5 years after we cast our votes on the 15th day of Jan this year. So in my personal perspective and as a youth, one that has a desire and also closely studies the election crisis in Uganda, I know we are not anywhere that close to what we have been promised for the longest time and what we are still being promised. So that would be my answer.
Interesting, interesting. And of course, from the earlier submission of Mandela, you seem to bring in now a new divergent or different perspective, which we do appreciate. And also, you mentioned something, maybe which I'll get back to you later. But let me get to you, Menya. When you talk about the largest demographic being young people, treated as special interest groups, I have seen rounds, and this is on record on everyone's status, especially the National Youth Council, saying, no money, no vote. I have seen them saying they must be included. And inclusion, this per se, is give us something. You're talking about a leadership structure of the largest demographic, leader recognized with by the law. Now you're going back to the reality of several other young people within the rural communities, but also several young people within the informal sector as well as the formal sector. Do you think this election is hope that all will change, especially with the behavior that young people, a percentage of young people is exhibiting?
Okay, thank you very much. I believe change starts with the mind. That is the first thing. Change starts with the mind. But the young people now who believe that money is the only way to a vote. I have engaged very many young people. They always say, for me to vote for you, you need to give me something. But they are forgetting that even in 2021, actually, around 59% of the people who are registered voted. That was around 10 million, if you count the votes that we had, out of 18 registered voters. And if you notice that most of the people that vote are from the villages, those old people are the ones who actually take time to vote. The young people want to sit back and say, whoever they think is going to just win. But forgetting that in politics is all about sharing. How are you sharing what are you sharing, and how is everyone receiving something? How is everyone benefiting from the programs that are being drawn by the politicians? So I am urging the young people out there that this election, I think by Electoral Commission we have around 20 to 22 million registered voters. At least let us have 90% voter turnout. There the youth will be heard. Since we are 75% in our demographic, if we can have at least 18 million voters, there, if anything happens, they will know that they're the ones who chose the leaders they chose. You get what I'm saying? So if you look at the members of parliament that we have, the LC5s, I think almost in this country it is the only country in the world where almost every demographic is represented in parliament. We have over 500 constituencies. The Lem, Manya Youth, Manya what, or things like that. So I would think if the young people first, this 15th, all of them come out, give their voice, ask for accountability to those leaders who came in 2021 and did not deliver what they were supposed to deliver, and say, you did not do what we wanted, so we are voting you out. That is the first step, forgetting what Nachitende is saying. It is the first step. Come in large numbers, vote for the leaders that you want. After voting for the leaders that you want, then you will ask for accountability. But you can't start asking for accountability to leaders that you did not vote in power. That is the problem we are having with the youth now. Then number 2, I would like to urge all the young people, let us have a peaceful election. Go away from this, deter yourself from political manipulation. They threaten you, they start saying, what, this will happen? No. I've even been seeing some memes that baby come and see me before the war. There is no war. I think that one we are sure there is no war that is going to happen. I believe our security is tight. Everything is good via security. I think Uganda is well off. So I believe if the young people come and vote for the people they want, give themselves the voices, have a peaceful election, vote in peace, and vote for peace to continue. I guarantee you we shall have a good year and our resolutions will start. Those ones who want to get married, they will get married on beaches and yachts. Those ones who want to do big things in career of all sorts. Yes, I think if we do that, Nachitende's answers, questions will be answered. Yes.
Thank you for that. Society is largely shaped by or governed by people that it chooses. And this is also a reflection of who you vote has a contribution on whether you actually get services or whether they are actually a voice that you intend to be aired out. Campaign slogans oftentimes tend to be misleading and also confusing, but also manipulative, like you said, especially to the young people. But also the politics of multi-party dispensation. Someone is going to tell you, me as a young person, as long as it is a bus, as long as it is an umbrella, as long as it is a radio, I'll be there to kick. In a crisis, as I get you, Mandela, but also in a hope where Menya mentions that young people should actually be very vocal in this time. And also, when you're promised something, and for example, I'm drawing this because it is a reality. I've interacted with many young people, and they're going to tell you, Chesilyn, I no longer want to listen to what this person has to tell me. And of course, this has been ongoing right from the campaign times that have been on. And they'll tell you, if I can get 10K, that would be enough for me for a day. So someone is looking at 10K, 5K for a day as a hope of survival. Now, when Menya talks about me calling out people and telling them, I voted you, what did you do for me? I am equally looking for survival. Where do we draw the line over young people's opinions or the desire for effective leadership vis-a-vis the necessities and the reality that the young people who are the majority are actually unemployed?
Well, to take it on from there, I will first of all beg to differ when you say majority of the young people are unemployed. I am not quite certain that that is reflects the true position of what's been happening. However, just to go on to what you were talking about, starting with multi-party politics, everyone in this country is entitled to their own opinion, and they're entitled to pick a candidate who attracts them, who says things to them that they believe in. Every single young person, and in fact everybody, it's not exclusive to the young people, can decide for themselves who they want to lead them going forward. My appeal, however, is that the process of deciding who you want to take you forward should be informed. It should not be based on sentiments, it should not be based on waves. And we should be careful to ensure that we are not being used as mere voices for certain other actors, which may not be in the best interest of Uganda. And this is why we are here today, to appeal to not just the youth, but everybody in Uganda, to make a very well measured decision and choice. Whereas they have the choice to decide and determine for themselves who takes them forward for these 5 years, it should be from a point of information. It should be a rational choice. What informs this rational decision? Weighing pros and cons. But in all things, and as I had mentioned in the start, this period, most especially, brings out so many contradictions. They come to life and come to light. We are able to see during this period all those struggles, I would call them, amongst the different people in the country. My issue is that many people are falling for the trap of believing that these struggles, these contradictions are negative, of necessity, that every time there is a contradiction, it is negative. No, contradictions actually sometimes possess a positive character. As a matter of fact, they are the major engine of progress. Just to give an example from nature itself, sometimes when there is a caterpillar, it grows from a little caterpillar to a bigger caterpillar, then it has to go into a cocoon from which it has to struggle to break out. And once it breaks out of that cocoon, it turns into something beautiful. As a matter of fact, and the scientists know this, it is the struggle that it faces in that cocoon which determines the strength of its wings. If a one, say, Gordon trumpet comes and says, oh, that caterpillar is in the cocoon, it's struggling to get out, let me help it, let me break it out of its cocoon. The scientists know that once you do that, its wings will be weak and it won't be able to fly. And most likely, given how natural law is, it will most likely die. In the context of the country, we have seen several times where people try to manufacture artificially progress. They try to out with the old, in with the new, without necessarily building from the old into something new, something sustainable. We have seen it happening in different jurisdictions in Sudan.
Yes.
We have seen people allegedly removing their long-standing dictators and all these kinds of things and bringing on board new people, and thus the nation fails immediately. Sudan right now is exporting 200 million refugees, but 300 million people of its 300 million are displaced internally and externally. What does that signal to all of us? It happened in Somalia. Same story. It happened in Libya. We are seeing it happening in other places. What was the key thing that stood out in all those cases? It was simply trying to remove out with the old, in with the new. The grandchildren have been born, let us behead our grandfathers. No, we cannot fall for these same tricks, these age-old tricks. The way, and which I am appealing to all Ugandans, is to build from the old into something new. Do not be deceived. Progress can never be smooth. It's never smooth. It's scattered, it's gradual, with breaks in continuity, but also with sudden leaps from one state to another. So what does that tell us? It tells us to be patient and trust this process. It tells us, and in the spirit of making resolutions, it tells us, go easy on yourself. It's not because somewhere in December I've decided, no, now I am tired of living an unproductive life. I'm tired of being lazy. I am tired of intoxicating my body. Now I will just get rid of my old self and I will be brand new and fast. No, you cannot do that. It's a process, and you must, strength lies in trusting, recognizing and trusting that process. So my word to the young people and most Ugandans would be, let us come, and we are trying to make an African cup of tea, spiced tea. What we have right now is boiling water, hot and boiling water, ready to add the spices. Why pour that out and say, no, we need a new cup, we need new water, we have to boil it afresh? Why do that? The water is boiled, let's add the spice. Let's come together and embrace something which has become very popular amongst the youth and so many people, unity in diversity, because this is what steers progress. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mandela, for that addition. And of course, you are reminded that our show is also airing on our YouTube page at U24 Television. And I'll read some of the people who are following us online. We do have Shanice Derry, who says we are watching. And we also do have Foynia Mandela, who says, thank you, Captain Emmanuel, for the good presentation. Quite inspiring to see an aviator like you on the show. So people are impressed by you being here. And also we do have Tuhakan Sibwa, Strange Ways, who says that, good evening, the youth of purpose. My name is Tuhakan Sibwa. And he says, the chairman, Western Region Youth Patriotism Alumni, and very eager to learn from this program. Thank you very much. We do have Gidongo also, who says, Mandela spitting dialectal materialism, a very great way to view our country's growth. Thank you so much, Gidongo, and everyone who is actually following us via YouTube. And of course, if you've just joined us, we are Youth of Purpose, and we are discussing maybe our New Year's perspectives and resolutions. How will the elections be able to shape this in the coming years, but also for the greater of the future of young people? And we do have Esther Nakitende, who is a lawyer. We do have Mandela, who is a lawyer. We also do have Menya, who is an aviator, or captain, as some of the online people are calling him. And I'll be getting to Esther now. Talking about perspective in terms of women. Women also face different challenges, but also are part or should be part of these conversations. And we cannot actually go without talking about it. When you look at the perspectives, the resolutions that women do have, particularly from the economic world to the formal and informal sector, but also to the academic world and all that. Bearing in mind that every district has a woman member of parliament, every sub-county has a woman councillor representative, but also even the LC3 does have woman councillor and other structures, as well as the National Youth Council, the female representatives. With this, with the numbers as more as we have them within the affirmative action, but also alive to the fact with women who are running on direct seats. What is it going to be like, especially that the environment is already putting too much pressure in terms of availability? You have to be here and there, you have to be at home and cook, you have to take care of your children, you are a career woman, you have to be on campaign trails, and then you have a whole district to run. What is it, or what are the expectations, especially on the reflection of what the results would be and their impact or influence on the life of a woman?
Thank you so very much, Cheseline. Before I respond to that answer, I would love to pose a very patriotic question to Mandela. He doesn't need to answer it. What do we do if the water is boiling in a broken pot? Do we still go ahead and add our spices?
And keep it on fire.
And keep it on fire as it goes out for us. We are adding the spices. And to your question, Cheseline, women are a very important figure of this country. Women make 50% of Uganda's population. That is not just a figure, but a representation of very, very many Ugandans. And when it comes to elections, women participate as voters, women participate as candidates. Now looking at women participating as candidates. What does this mean for them? When we talk about affirmative action, coming from Article 33 of the Constitution, where it gives us women the right to participate on equal platform with the men. But yet when you go on the ground, you usually say ku ground bidala really ku ground ate si bye biliwa. It is not the reality. When you go on the ground, you are asked as a woman, you should be cooking somewhere in the kitchen. You should be nursing a baby somewhere. Or you should be preparing a meal for your husband. But you are the same woman who has the same desires and aspiration as a man. Then what does that mean for me as a woman? It is more of a greater burden on the side of the woman. What I need to put in economically as a woman to see that at some time I can give the same, what you call chigati, with a man who entirely goes to work and that's all he does. At the same time, I have to meet my voters who expect me to be in the field 24/7 while I have a baby to nurse at home. What does it mean for me as a woman who has to be in school but also be a wife and a mother? So that is the reality on the ground. So what does this mean at the end of the election? When we vote, who are we supposed to vote as a woman? Or as women, what should we stand for? For someone that entirely understands what it means to be a woman. Someone that understands what it means to have affirmative action. Not someone who says women also have problems when they talk about women's problem. That is not the issue. The issue is that since long ago in 1945, no woman was in any university, but men were schooling. Yet in 2026, you expect us to be on the same platform. So for me, when you ask me what should the result look like, what should this mean for women, my answer is simple. For women, as women voters, please vote for someone who understands the women issues. Men voters, vote for people that can be our allies in the women's movement. For women candidates, we have had a challenge as the women's movement. When they get into parliament, they forget about the women's issues. They choose to do that satisfies their stomachs. Please do what took you there as a woman member of parliament. So that would be my cry during this time of election to both the female voters and also the female candidates.
Interesting. Thank you, Esther. I think you highlight something very pertinent, especially that every district having a member of parliament, but when it comes to issues of women in parliament, they always go silent and you never hear anyone speak, and then you're forced to question and ask yourself, why are we actually into this thing? But of course, with the hope and also the challenges, the patriarchal and the society pressure that is put around, it is one of the initiatives that continues to encourage some of those women are actually doing best. And of course, I will be able to read other followers online. Today, I am going to read all your comments, so keep following us. We do have Oriku Brenda, who says, great analogy of spicing the cup of tea. Well done, panelists. And of course, we also do have Mika Tendo, who says, good evening, my name is Mika Tendo. Thank you, Captain Emmanuel, for the words of wisdom you have shared with us as the youth. We do have Vonia, I think, Nasasira, who says that, good evening, I am a law student and grateful of the words of wisdom from the fellow lawyers and the only one aviator. Thank you so much, Nasasira, for joining us and everyone who is following us. We are very much humbled. I will be getting back to Menya. And last time we were having a resolution on whether we should extend this show. There's a way time really runs very fast. But my question to you, Menya, is going to be particularly young people, but also expectations and reality in terms of the voting day itself. Voting day itself. What responsibilities should we hold? What expectations should we have? But also, what role must we play to ensure that elections actually are peaceful? And also, how do we get, is it, for example, getting evidence, or is it, for example, carrying your mother along if she's not unable to walk, or is it, for example, reminding people that today is voting day, go and vote, and your vote matters?
Okay. First, the youth out there should know that voting is your civic duty. It is your civic duty, so you have to go out there and vote. Don't sit and say, kawe demuda, I don't have to go and vote. Please and please and please go and vote on the 15th of January. Second, I would like to tell the youth that you don't need to just be here and wait for other people to decide for you. All the decisions that you are making that day are going to affect all the resolutions that you have set this year. Okay?
Yes.
What does it mean? That when you go and vote, before you go and vote, know why you are voting. Have you read the manifestos of these candidates? I was reading a manifesto, and I saw one manifesto. It had very good views regarding the youth. Because I read the NRA manifesto, and was talking about a broad-based economic growth and developing the human capital. So, if you're setting your resolution, make sure your resolution is in line with the policies that the government that is coming is putting in place, so that you know that when I am planning to do this, will I benefit? When I am planning to do this, will I benefit? Because I was seeing, I read the NRM manifesto was talking about human capital development through digital tech. It was talking about industrialization. It was talking about improving the quality of education. Now, I tell all the youth out there, I know if you're young, you have gone to school, some of you got tired of school, please, if it is possible, add a skill. Add a relevant skill. Don't just add a skill, add a relevant skill. That is number one. Number two, make sure that if you have a degree, add a master's, add a postgraduate. Make yourself relevant. Mandela was challenging you when you talked about unemployment. Actually, we don't have unemployment. We have underemployment. We are not actually fully utilized. People are doing part-time jobs. They are doing, I always argue with some colleagues of mine when I find those taxi people saying, Busebo Genda, then they ask for 5,000. That is this guy's unemployment. They're actually doing nothing. You're not the one who brought me to the stage. I came myself knowing where I'm going to go, but he's expecting money. But if he had developed a skill, if you develop a skill within this year and align it to the policies, make sure you find out that what the youth, what programs have they set for them this year, this 5-year term, so that you are in alignment with the policies that the government coming, so that it finds you ready. I guarantee you, your vote will not be wasteful. I guarantee you, you will have a good year, and all your year resolutions may it come to pass and get something out of it. Yes.
Interesting. Today we are actually very much inclusive, especially with our online audience. And we do have also a few coming in via our WhatsApp. And this one says, Menya, when you say elections give us hope, I want to ask you, which Uganda are you talking about? Rent is high, fuel is up, and salaries are the same. For me, elections just taught me to plan my life without expecting miracles. That is a voice of a certain voter somewhere. But also, this is James Semanda from Chireka saying that. We also have another one saying, Council Mandela, you speak strongly about national unity, and it sounds good on TV. But here in northern Uganda, people are still struggling with poor hospitals and limited opportunities after elections. Unity, speeches, and continue, but service delivery remains the same. The gap is what frustrates many of us. And this is Stella Aya from Gulu City. We also do have Ronald Kato from Masaka. Thank you so much, Ronald, for sharing your perspective with us. And he says, you tell citizens to be patient and trust the system. But people are tired. Every election cycle is the same promises and the political theater. And it feels like an ordinary person will always be left behind. This time around, Muchuse Muko. And then this one is saying, Nachitende, corruption is talked about before every election, but nothing changes. How do we change, how do we know this election won't be the same? And this is Grace Kansime, all the way from Boshenyi. Thank you so much for listening in from Boshenyi. And of course, coming from Boshenyi, you can see people are following us. People are following us from my village. So I'll get you, Esther.
Yes, please.
What, of course, time is really much fast spent, and as we wind this up, what lessons should we learn from 2021 that should not repeat themselves in 2026?
I think first I would love to say that 2021 was more like, I don't know even how to call it. People are just choosing umbrella. If you put a jerry can under the umbrella, it will go to parliament. So my lesson from the 2021 election, during the 2021 election, people were choosing a party. This time, can we please focus on an individual
and the ideas
and the ideas that they carry? I know Uganda is a multi-party election system under the constitution, but we need to look at the character of the people that we are choosing. I got so many surprises when I saw people that were formerly no, now they have abandoned their party because they received some money, and people trusted them not because of what they were bringing to the table, but because they were under a certain political party. So my lesson one, let's look at the people we are sending to parliament. 557 members of parliament are too many to still have the same problems we have now. So you mean the entire 550 heads cannot think for us? So that is one big challenge. We are sending an individual to the parliament, but on ground we are voting a political party. So first things first, let's look at the people that we are voting. Number two, my greatest prayer to the electorate and more so the youth, let's turn up for the votes. I remember last year, in 2021, I didn't vote. Yet I was already an adult. I was 22. I ought to have voted, but I escorted my grandmother, who was 88. So the youth, I was not interested at that time. Second lesson, youth, you form 75% of Uganda's population. Please leave your bed that day. Forget about anything they have said. If they are saying Kalonde Kapume, at least you go and vote. You go back home, but go and vote. Those two are very key for me.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Esther. Mandela, getting to you. These are times where pressure is getting worse, and every young person is being told, especially if you're running, do you have 500 million to finish this race? Do you have 200 million for finishing? And you've been campaigning the entire time. What strategies do you think as young people should take part in to ensure that their fellow young people are not actually subject to last minute financial struggles? Or how do we relate or be able to help them? Because it's a reality, it's a big challenge, it's also a struggle, especially where people have believed in you and then last minute someone says, I cannot vote you. So how do we continue to spread the message consistently to ensure that money does not swipe away the trusted voters?
That is a very good question, but you will allow me first to address, I feel like her rhetorical question really begs an answer. And Stella also, who commented from the north, I will just resolve that because they're asking a similar question. Because Stella is talking about, well, here in the north, this and that, and she's saying also on this side, well, what do we do if our cup or pot is broken? I will start by saying that in that metaphor, what I call the cup is peace. And also to Stella in the north, peace is the first step. Let us not jeopardize the peace for any reason. You see, someone talked about dialectical materialism, and it brought something to mind, a saying by one of the big proponents of that school of thought, Mao Zedong, where he said antagonism is only one form of struggle within a contradiction, not its universal form. What that means is, if we can see eye to eye on certain other things, then let us focus on those. Let us not look at our differences and magnify them and make them the reason why Uganda ends up like all those other examples that I gave in the past. We need to focus on what we see eye to eye on. Now, coming to your question, I remember the last time I was here, I addressed this exact same issue, and it's quite unfortunate that this is what's happening. It has become widespread all over the country, that politics is being monetized, heavily monetized.
Yes.
It comes back to what has been being shared by Menya and my colleague here, Council Nachitende. It comes back to being rational, to picking someone who you have scrutinized